Our first speaker today is Will Spencer. He will be presenting the CyberScan, an advanced computerized Tesla Coil technology to help us heal ourselves from the toxic effects of our modern environment by treating our bodies with individualized protocols of select frequencies that enhance our life force, improves the chelation process, and repairs the bioelectric system. Please welcome Will Spencer.
What's that? If you need it. Okay. All right, stand here, over here. Does it matter where I stand? I'm going to stand over here. All right. I don't. I am not a morning person. Sorry. I begged for a later appointment. All right, this is my third year here. I really appreciate everyone showing up so early. I don't have a fancy presentation. I'm hopefully encouraging you to use your minds. Can we do that? Can we visualize a little this morning? Everyone looks not awake yet. All right, I'm going to talk about the CyberScan a little bit, but first just a little background. I call my clinic the Body Electrician Clinic because we're all electric. All the new science is saying that at the core of every cell, there's almost no matter. So that means we're almost all electric. We're all energy. We're all information. Everyone's heard that before, I'm sure, right? But we're still a little bit of matter. And unfortunately, most of the medicine is all about the matter and not about the energy or the information. I started out with working with matter, herbs, elements, microbes, and went to your typical naturopathic school and information, and to find out that we're mostly not matter was a little shocking at first. To realize I invested a lot of time and energy into figuring out the matter. So we found machines now that can actually communicate to the body. And one of the machines that we're using now is they're called the CyberScan. It's made in Germany. It has a couple of advanced Tesla coils inside, one for broadcasting and one for receiving. So the machine talks directly to the body, which takes pretty much all the guesswork out of it. So we don't even look at symptomology anymore. We a little bit we look at symptomology, but mostly the machine talks directly to the body, or with the CyberScan, it can also talk to a sample. We use a hair sample. So the hair actually holds the information as well, any part of you. One cell holds the information just like all your other cells. So your toenails as well as your hair hold information about you. So you have to excuse me again. Mornings are not my time. There may be pauses. It's okay. So a couple of things about the body electrician that I want to bring up again. So I'm jumping around a little bit. It's called calisthenics, mental. Okay? There's four things that we've distilled down that's the main problem, the main problems, and we've distilled it down to four problems that we all have. The four problems of illness are toxins, which we all know about. Our air is polluted, our water is polluted, Our bodies are polluted because we live in this environment. We have infections rampant. Our microbial imbalance is insane right now. I say that based on the information that we're finding by using the devices like the CyberScan, and we have other scanning technology too. And for the last 8 years across the board, we all have a microbial imbalance. We're all malnutritioned. Don't care if you're eating biodynamic, you're eating organic or not, doesn't matter. We're all malnutritioned. And we all have trauma and negative emotional programming. It's socially engineered that way. So those are the root causes of everything that, from our view anyhow. And we address those 4. Now back to the CyberScan. So those 4 traumas, or those 4 problems, stop our body's immune system from functioning. It's like we lose information connections from our immune system to the functioning of our body. And the CyberScan, the way it works, is it finds out what is the problem, what's stressing us, what's not working right, and then putting the information into a homeopathic remedy as well as broadcasting it to you specifically for you, no matter where you are on the planet, broadcasting-wise. And you take the supplement, which holds the information, you take it orally, and we have these receptors in our mouth that pick the information up, and in our stomach, in our body, that picks the information up and uses it to bring our immune system back online and identifying what's wrong, whether it's malnutrition, whether it's infections, whether it's trauma. So a little story. Over the years, I've had several accidents in cars. I've had, used to be a contractor, and I've had things fall on my head. I've fallen off silos and roofs and all kinds of things, and had, over the years, discovered that my midbrain, my amygdala, wasn't working. It wasn't working correctly. It was producing stressor hormones almost 24 hours a day. So I was seeking chiropractic care, all kinds of energy medicine, and I was doing fairly well until a couple of years ago, the CyberScan came into my awareness. And actually, I was introduced at this event in 2014 about the CyberScan. There was a gentleman here that had one. And I finally got to use it and explore what its capabilities are, and my first treatment was incredible. Within 15 minutes of taking the supplementation and having the broadcast turned on, I experienced a calmness that I've never experienced before. My body just calmed down. The background noise, I'll call it the background noise, just the irritation. You've been stressed before? And who hasn't been stressed? Right? There's this constant irritation. It's kind of like in West Virginia, they have this area that is called an EMF-free zone around these radio telescopes. And when you get close to these radio telescopes, there is no EMFs around. There's no cell phone service. There's no Wi-Fi. There's nothing. And you notice it. If you're aware of this, you're just calmer. Kind of like I'm not right now. You can just feel this calming effect. And that was one of my first experiences with this technology, is this calming effect. Like, it turned my brain dysregulated. It caused my brain to calm down. It caused the hormones to calm down. It caused the thinking to be clearer. Because when you're producing stressor hormones, which most people do nowadays, because we have these 4 things happening. We have malnutrition state, we have all these traumas around us, these EMFs, social engineering, we have all these toxins around us. It's like everything around us now in society is producing this stressor hormone production. It's actually intentional. You can read quite a few books about it nowadays. NATO has written a book called The Biology of Aggression. They explained this in the 1980s. They produced this book. You can check it out online. The Biology of Aggression. It's how to control people through chaos. And when your endocrine system, when your hormonal production is in constant stress or hormone production, you're in chaos. I was in chaos. And these tools, like we use now, like the CyberScan, causes the body to be able to regulate itself much better in the face of having all of this chaos around us. Because epigenetics is telling us that our environment is responsible for our gene expression, but that's not just outside of us. That's as well as inside of us. Our internal environment is just as chaotic, toxic, and malnutrition as our outside. Dr. Bruce Lipton saying that there's no difference from the inside of our skin to the outside of our skin. This is a permeable structure, our skin. What we have on the outside of us is exactly what's on the inside of us. And I agree. We have over 130,000 things that we scan potentially for with our devices. And I'm here to tell you that Dr. Bruce Lipton and these other scientists are exactly right. We're seeing crazy things inside of people and outside of people because we scan soil, we scan animals, we scan water. So a couple of things. I'm going to talk a little bit. There's a microphone right here. Please make your way to that mic and participate. I hate lectures. I want to talk with you, and here is the opportunity. So please don't be shy. If you have a question or a comment or anything, come up and participate. We've got 40-some minutes to be here together. Okay. So our goal as in the Body Electrician Clinic, our goal is to get your body, my body, our body, to regulate itself. Because it's the most fantastic biological machine ever built. And it is dependent on regulating itself to run the best it can. We have our first guest.
Victim. Anyway, you mentioned the feedback system, and I'm really interested in the feedback portion. And so you just kind of went over that and went back the other way. But can you expound on that a little bit
The feedback
more?
system of what? Our body?
Our
of the
bodies.
machines?
Yeah, or the machine. And the machine, I should say.
Well, being that we are electrical magnetic generators, scalar wave generators, whatever word you want to talk to us, we interface with our field around us. The machine, and here again, if you want to stay here and direct me, because I wander a lot, so
I'm just really interested
as
in
in the
feedback
body as
mechanisms.
a feedback mechanism, or the technology. That's where I'm, because
Well, both, actually. The technology that you're using, and as well as what you have for reading the feedback and what you're doing with the feedback, how it relates to the input that you're using into the body. I know that even in electronics and a lot of stuff, I've designed robots before, and the best information you can have is a good feedback system on any type of electrical device that you're designing. So if you design something, you put sensors all over it so you've got feedback, and the better the feedback you have, the better the input or crash avoidance or whatever you want to call it the machine communicating with the outside world to understand where it's at, what it's doing.
Well, let's start with just one of those, because that's hours long right there. So our mechanisms, our feedback out, every cell has thousands and thousands of receptors on them.
Right.
Every cell, and we're made up of trillions of cells, they're saying now.
Right.
Okay, so we're constantly feeding out as well as receiving in. It's a yin yang. We're sensing our environment. We're also feeding out into our environment. And the machinery that we have, like with the CyberScan, especially because of its sensitivity, we're able to pick up massive amounts of information. And it takes all of the information, calculates it all, organizes it, and gives us these readouts. Okay? And so let's just say sinus problems. Okay, we have sinus problems. Like I have a dry nose right now. I'm from in the east where we have a moisture. I come down here, I get bloody noses, I get, dry, right? So the machine's picking up. You can do a scan on somebody, and the machine is picking up why that. Dehydration, things aren't working right. We have infections, different microbial community here than we have in the east. All these things. So the computer's able to tell all of this information, what's going on, and calculate it and give it a scale. Give it a numerical value of worst to best. I guess we'll just keep it simple. Okay, most stressful to least stressful. On all the different levels, because we're not just a one-dimensional being, we have multiple dimensions. From the physical all the way to the etheric, they say now out 15 feet, 5 yards. They can measure out easily now. And so we're able to see the stress from the core all the way out. And so there again, this machine can pick that up, it categorizes it, it identifies it, it gives it a numerical value so you can actually see the amount of stress that each of these categories that it's picking up.
It knows what to broadcast to you.
Exactly. It broadcasts the most stressful stuff. You can set it a lot of different settings, but we're only interested in what is absolutely causing the most stress. And it might not be my sinuses are the problem. It might be my heart's stressed. It might be because I'm not eating very good or I'm not sleeping very good because it's a different environment. So it'll only address that top tier. That's what we do with it. Because we're only interested in that first level of stress, the highest stress. And then it gives us the corrective information. And it's literally just information. That's why I call it advanced homeopathy, because it's putting the specific information into a liquid or out into the field for you specifically. It biolocates you anywhere on the planet. As we all know, scalar energy is non-time and it's not local. It's anywhere.
It's not limited to one space.
You got to talk into the mic so everyone can hear.
Not limited to one space and time. It's,
Exactly.
It's everywhere at once.
Yeah, and that's how the machine can pick you up. I can actually scan you once we have your original scan. I can scan you anywhere in the galaxy, they say.
Yeah.
Anywhere else on the planet, it doesn't matter. You can just give a call or an email and say, hey, I'm not feeling good. Can you run me again?
Yeah.
And we do that all the time. That's why the machine is not here right now. It's in use. It's actually up in the room, and we have our normal clientele we have to take care of.
Yeah.
It'll be down later today at our booth.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a stroke before. So, and I was in the hospital, talked to a lot of doctors, and they recommended that I take this or take that for the stroke. And you've got to get your blood pressure down. Well, my blood pressure is insanely high. But
Normally or just because of?
normally, it's ever since I can remember. I mean, when I went in the military, they were talking about it, getting my blood pressure down. But, and that's been, almost 40 years ago. So
Still alive.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
But when I had a stroke, one of the things I started doing was trying to pay attention to what other people had to say about it. And I was listening to some videos, and one doctor started talking about the fact that there's something that causes high blood pressure. It might be a warning sign, but nobody seems to care about what's causing it. No, do you take this medicine for it? Like you mentioned earlier, the machine part. That's what they're most concerned with, and they're not concerned with anything other than the machine part.
I'll promise you it's down in the trauma and negative emotions when it comes to blood pressure. There's so many things that we have physically that is a product of something that happened when we were 3.
Yeah, okay.
And this is where most of medicine doesn't really go. I've been going there because I have people that don't get better. This is where I started out looking at the machine, the meat suit.
Yeah,
First, that high blood pressure could be because maybe your parents left you somewhere when you were 2 or 3 years old at the babysitter, and that babysitter was a little mean to you,
yeah,
which triggered something, and your body's holding that memory yet, and it's like you're like this all the time. And then you go into the military, and you got more of this, and you got all this hit with a car, more of this, and all of a sudden now your heart's just, your pressure is just looking for trauma all the time. And so this is where our world has evolved past the machine, and actually the machines now can tell us what negative programs are in there emotionally that's behind everything. They can tell us the malnutrition and the toxins very easily, but it can also tell us where the negative programming is. Like, I don't love myself unconditionally. Like, I'm not worth it. That kind of thing. And so now the machines can actually help us, so, who knows?
well, that's what I was kind of interested in the feedback part and understanding that better, how are you
You want to know a secret? I don't understand it yet. I'm still learning. Anyone that says they understand that, don't listen to them. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
The more you know, the more you know you don't know.
More I know, I don't know. I used to think I was smart. Thank you.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Could you attest to the effectiveness of your technology for people with chronic sleep disorder, people who really just can't get a good night's rest, and what kind of short-term result might we expect?
So here's a little tidbit. This may be a little sound weird, but anything that makes a fast, crazy, like he was saying, a short-term help, I haven't found a whole lot of long-term success and sustainability there. Okay, this is what I call allopathic thinking. Everybody wants to feel good now. And I know not sleeping good is a major thing. But your problem now with not sleeping good is a symptom of the problem. It's not the problem. Okay? And there's a lot of contributing factors about sleep because that's a hormonal thing, that's a circadian rhythm thing, could be a malnutrition. But again, back to these 4 things, right? The trauma, the toxins, the malnutrition, and the infections. Okay, diagnosing I can't use that term legally anymore. Analyzing that is where the machines come in handy, because in a matter of 5 minutes we can scan 100 and some thousand different potentials to find out what's going on and the direction we need to go to find out why your sleep is there. You're not sleeping very well. The body's not regulating itself very well. Why? And so the machine gives us that direction to go instead of guessing on symptomology and some of these tests that the allopathic medicine uses that in my book is about 15% accurate anyhow. So I'm sorry I don't have an easy answer for that. But sleep problems are an accumulation of issues. It's not just I don't sleep. It was like the gentleman that was up here earlier, the first gentleman. Sleep is a result of some problems, whether that's digestion, whether that's hormonal, whether that's fear, whether there's a lot of contributing factors. This thing is a complicated machine in that regard, and the machines that we're using, like the CyberScan, actually give us an easier, faster access into the problems and how to alter the problems. The CyberScan and its supplementation and its broadcast helps the information, and yet we're also still concerned with the malnutrition part of that, because sleep problems is definitely having a malnutrition, an elemental problem as well. So, are you good with that one?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. I like the questions and answers. Hopefully you guys don't mind. Can everyone hear the questioners? Okay, we're good. Go ahead.
I'm interested in the technical aspects of this machine. I want to know about the principles that are the electric, electronic, physics, etheric principles.
You're at the wrong
Rich.
talk. And I'll be really honest, I am not a guru on this device. I know how it works, I know how it interfaces with the body, and I come from the biological standpoint. I'm here to share with you about how machines can talk to the body to help us. Now, the technological, you can go to the website, and you can talk to the inventor. He lives in Germany. He's a very, very open person. I'm not a specialist on the technology in and of itself and how it works. I just know that there's advanced Tesla coils in there that read the scalar waves and the energy and talk to our body, because we are scalar and energetic electromagnetic generators and receivers. And this device talks to us past our consciousness to the us, to the cells, and figures out what's stressing us, how it's stressing us, and gives us data feedback, so then we know how to move forward to address things. That's why I'm here. I come from the biological standpoint because I think this thing that we live in, this meat suit that we live in, is a biological computer. It's the most fantastic machine ever. It's the most healingest machine. This thing that we live in is designed to be regulating itself without our conscious control and interfacing with our environment on its own, and to be healthy. That's what this thing is. And we all have one. I'm looking at him. That's my interest. That's why I'm here, is to share with you. Now we have tools that help us help this thing. That's why I'm here. Because Mr. Tesla, what I know of him, knew about energy. He had the ability to have his brain open enough to feel his surroundings and to consciously manipulate it and to figure it out. That's my interest, is how this thing works. And this tool, the cybernetic scan, is a fantastic interface to give us data and to also help us upgrade our hard drive with information. That's the way I look at it. So, if you're wanting to know the technological of the device, I'm sorry, that's not this talk. So, if you want to step up to the mic and be loud.
Hi, my name's John, and I'm a energy health practitioner. I work with energy medicine and energy psychology, and specifically EFT, emotional freedom technique, which we tap on meridian points, which calm the amygdala of the brain, which then reprograms your neural pathways. My question is, how does this machine, or does it pick up on your specific emotional issues that you learned during the first 7 years of your life when you were vibrating at a theta level, or theta vibration?
This machine
And
does
how
that
does
and more.
Does it also get specific on it, and does it fix it? Does it reprogram the subconscious mind to get rid of the beliefs?
Let's do one at a time.
Okay.
One at a time. One at a time is, this machine can tell to some degree of during your lifetime when you gained the trauma, when you had the program go out of balance, if you will. It is specific. It can actually go back in time to look back, that it could be your mom, your dad, when you were 5. It's not specific as in, May 15th, 1942. It's not like that. But it gives a range because of the way the machine is and the way our body holds information. It has these levels, 1 through 12, 12 being in the past, infancy, and 1 being today. Okay, it can do that. It tells us the programs, as in, if there's a lot of stress with I love myself unconditionally, we have a whole bunch of money programs. And believe it or not, most people have money problems held in here. Like my parents were poor. My parents came through the Depression, and you have to slave you have to work hard to make your money. You know, that kind of mentality leads to more poverty, right? We know that. Okay, we can tell if that is held in our body. We can, because we have those programs or these, we're able to search the body for these negative programs, and it tells us the actual program. It tells us if it's affecting our nervous system, our peripheral nervous system, central nervous system, digestive system. You know, so it can be pretty specific if we're looking in that direction. So you can get extremely specific, but in the beginning when we're working with somebody new, we want to kind of stand back and say, okay, so where's the major stuff?
So it also fixes it? It also reprograms?
It fixes it from the standpoint as it is going to feed back to you the corrective frequencies, and that's what happened to me. I had physical trauma as well as mental, emotional trauma. When I was a kid, I was abused. I was in some situations that were not good, from like 3 to 6 years of age. And a lot of physical, sexual type of abuse was, so I had all these memories. And then I had all these traumas where I got hit on the head, I fell off buildings and things like this. In a car accident, a semi hit me, literally hit me. And my midbrain, it was like stuck on super hyper survival mode. It was just shredding itself by all the stressor hormones constantly, and nothing would calm it down. This was the first major thing that calmed it down. I did tapping for years, and it was okay. And I called it a bandage. It helped a little, but I had to spend so much time, doing the tapping that I couldn't live my life tapping all the time. And so this was the first machine that actually, I noticed it in 15 minutes, literally. It was like, oh wow, what was that?
And it never came back? I mean, it
come back a little. It come back.
Okay.
Because one treatment of energy, any kind of energy medicine, one treatment that's not how we work. It's repetition in how our body picks up the habit. Okay, so if you're going to continue to keep up doing something that works, over time, your body then picks up that new habit. That new information is getting fed in here through the waves, through the field, the broadcast, as well as the liquid. And there's also
it makes a liquid.
Pardon me.
It actually produces a liquid.
Yeah, we use a high mineral dense liquid, and the information is fused into the water, carrier liquid.
Okay.
And then you take it, and that information is embedded into the water. You take it internally. There's actually a card, like your card for your room. That information is put onto the card that you sleep with. That helps you at night, protects you, and whatever. At night, there's a field of about, I believe it's 3 meters, 4 meters off the card, so you sleep with that at night. And then there's the broadcast in the information through the field. So you're getting it from all these different ways, these 3 different ways. So this thing picks it up, picks all the information up, and uses it to upgrade its internal, you're basically, getting a systems upgrade. When you get an upgrade on your computer, you get downloaded some information, it upgrades, and then it does this little thing and restarts, and it starts to operate better. And that's really what literally that's what this is.
Can this thing be bought? Can you buy
Sure.
this machine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you can buy these.
All right.
They're about $30,000. Then training. It's the training that's the problem because there's a learning curve. Mm-hmm. It's actually more of a learning mountain. It's not a curve. Because you're familiar with radionics, pretty much everyone in here, where your participant is part of the machine almost. This kind of is like that in a way of trying to look into what's going on with the person. You have to the best is to have a really good, open, holistic view of how this thing works. This thing meaning the body. Because we're not just meat. We're not just elements. We're not just energy. There's a consciousness in here, and then there's parts of that consciousness. The subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the superconscious mind. It's all of that, and the machine can pick all of those aspects of us up. plus the emotional part of us, plus, the physical part of us. So it's the most holistic view of things. That's why we do it.
So probably the amount of doses you take depends on the person and the situation.
No, it's a specific on the dosage.
Okay.
There's a specific protocol. Every 2 weeks you get a new scan and an upgrade. So our view of energy medicine, like tapping, if you will, I'll use that for an example. You keep doing it and things get better, right? Mm-hmm. The brain will slowly the midbrain will start to dysregulate. The frontal brain will start to regulate a little bit more, and you get this balance that creates over time. Right. And that's the healthy way, in my opinion, to do it. And that's why this is designed the way it is, to take every 2 weeks, every 14 days, you get an updated information liquid. And a new broadcast is turned on every 14 days. And it's like, let's see, the schedule is 3 to 4 months, and then give it a month and a half break, or a month to, 4 to 6 week break. Let everything calm down, then you start over again, another 3-4 months at a time. Just kind of depends on the person and the situation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Everyone's okay with the questions and answers yet? You don't want to just hear me talk, do you? Okay. I like the participation, by the way.
Hi.
Good morning.
I was curious what you made reference to the water and what you were seeing, and there was a whole lot of, absorption of water having to do with the water being energetic or dead, as they say. What have you seen?
I'll blow your mind right away this morning then. Yeah. So the first thing is we were testing water. We're just putting water on the machine and just seeing what's there. And we have the privilege of living in the mountains, and we have springs all over the place. And we've tested Fiji water, which I wouldn't give Fiji water to someone I hate. And I don't hate anybody, but this bottled water thing and is incredible. The memory that water holds is fantastic. We're finding the more livelier the water, or the better the water, like spring water, fresh coming right out of the ground, has so much information in it regarding microorganisms and other organisms. It's incredible.
Could you see that when you were...
On the data, we can see what's held inside the water for the memory. You can't see it under a microscope. I mean, spring water, like, you can see lots of things in the spring water. Like this water here. Okay, this is, we've done Fiji because everyone's talking how great Fiji water is and some of these other waters. And you can come to our booth, and I believe my partner Delanne brought a printout. But what's in this under a microscope is not much. But the information that's held in this is quite intriguing. Different minerals, a lot of cancers, information now. I'm not talking actual cancer, but I'm talking information, parasites, and microorganisms, radioactivity. It's all in this. It may be clear and we can look right through this, but the information side of what's held in water is just incredible. And the more it's been pumped and processed, the more not good information is held in here. The information that when you drink this could potentially, if our body picks that information up, will then manifest in us eventually if you keep drinking it. A lot of petrochemicals, the plastic, and the tubes and the pipes. We take spring water right out of the ground, and there's a little bit less plastic and things like that, but there's more life form information like microbes and parasites and things like that. A lot of radioactivity coming out of water. Well, radioactivity our Earth is generating all the time. You can put your hands around the water, think a specific thought, and we can pick up, sometimes if you're a good generator, you can pick up your thought in the water. Like Emoto was writing love or hate, and then freezing the water and looking at the crystal. We can pick your thought up out of there, that if you generate enough thought into a specific thought, we can pick things like that up. So it's more than just H2O.
And you were able to see the different, whether it was the spring water, which was very energetic, I'm assuming.
The spring water had more microorganisms and parasites, more living entity organism type information in it. But there was still some poisons and toxins and things like that in there. But the bottled water still had parasites and, the information of them in there. Not saying that they are, but the information is held in there. The distillation and the RO reverse osmosis and all the way that they purify the water takes care of pretty much like the organism itself. But the information of the organism is still held here in this water. This is a field. This is a memory. This is like a hard drive. The information's still held here for the most part.
Was your machine able to modify that?
We haven't got that far. We've only had it a couple of years. We still got, light bills to pay, and so we spend a lot of time working, helping other people. That's our job. And so we haven't got into the really cool stuff yet. We do know that you can broadcast in, like you put the water on the machine, but because of it's so lacking in the mineral base, it doesn't hold the information very well, the corrective information very well. So this isn't a very good carrier fluid for the protocol, right? So that's why we use a high mineral-based water, because it's able to hold the broad spectrum of frequencies in all the different minerals in the water. Because this is pretty stripped of its elemental stuff. It's clear. I'd rather drink green or brown water than this, really. It has more life form in it. It has more life force, and it has more stuff in it. It's alive.
Have you tried looking at some of the Brown's gas bubble through the water smacker, where it
I haven't got
modifies
to that yet. I
electrically?
own one of those from George, and I use it in a different way. Like I said, I haven't got into the cool stuff because I'm too busy paying bills right now.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. All right, good morning. Another one.
Hi. I'm quite interested in the whole tricorder kind of technology where you can scan the body and assess what's going on. And I think that's really the future. But one of the things, I have an expertise in something called measurement systems analysis. I used to give seminars to companies to analyze gauges and measurement systems and figure out if they had measurement error, how much measurement, repeatability, reproducibility, all of those kinds of things. So I happen to have a device, I shouldn't give the name, but it scans the body, measures 10,000 different things. And I started noticing that from one week to the next, I would analyze a person and it would be something completely different. I said, well, this looks like just what I saw in industry, where I saw a device with a lot of measurement error. So what I did was I got numerical output, and so what I did is I ran the tests, completely disconnected the device, connected it up again, ran the test again, and each time I saved the database. So after doing that for 4 different times, I analyzed the data, and when I analyzed the data from one set of tests to the next set of tests, I got 0 correlation. You don't get 0 correlation in any kind of natural phenomena. The only way you could get a perfect 0 correlation with 10,000 data points is if you have a random number generator.
If you have a what?
A random number generator. I could do it with a computer. With mathematically, I could come close. But the fact that I got 0 meant that it was completely worthless as a measurement device. And the problem is, if you don't have repeatability, you can't prescribe. You can't, because the future won't be anything like what you're seeing in the present.
Out.
So, and I'm not going to ask you to give technical details on that, but maybe from your experience.
I can talk to that because that's a big problem.
Yeah, have you experienced reproducibility? In other words, if you analyze a client one day and then the next week, how similar are the results? Are you getting something completely different? Or are you getting something that is similar? I would expect if you've given treatment, maybe there should be 70% correlation or something like that. That's what I originally hypothesized. But 0 just was bad. So what's your experience?
In our experience is you can do tests 5 minutes apart, and there's going to be large differences. Very little repeatability in that regard on just the actual data in that moment. Because I can walk over there, and here's a visual. I'm going to
Yes.
walk over there, and I'm going to slap you right in the face.
Yes.
You're going to immediately go acid, low oxygen. You're going to go into, you're
Yes,
going to dump
yes.
stressor hormones, and everything about you is going to change in that split second.
Yes, and also with the treatment, or actually with the measurement, you're actually providing a treatment in a way.
Well, it's information that's the treatment, if you will.
Yes.
I mean, in this regard, I guess I'm not following that question, but
Uh,
I want to stick to this first
yes.
thing, because otherwise my mind goes off somewhere. And because we've had a lot of people that are numerical loving people that are going, this doesn't make any sense. I'm like, it's perfect sense. Because every second, we have over 2,000 information signals in our body just to stand up. And it changes. I step over here now, I got all these different muscles that just moved. You have all this different stuff going on. If I run to the back of the room, my heart rate's going to go up. All this stuff is continually changing. So we're looking at it like you're going to be fluctuating constantly. We are always in flux. And so I have one client that's been tracking for several years now, and they're basically numerically, he's got his own database, and
Yes.
it's the trends.
Yes.
You can track it pretty well with the trends of the numerical values, putting
Yes.
it into a longer, bigger spreadsheet. So when you stand back and start looking at the big picture,
Yes.
then you can track it, then you can see what's going on. And this is just something we're doing independently. None of the manufacturers of the devices that we use have anything that does that. This is all independent because I'm trying to answer questions because I get that
Yeah.
question. How can these two scans look so different?
Yeah.
Because if you look at my scan on the data alone versus someone else, it looks like I'm going to be dead. Because my numbers are usually really high. My body's able to handle a lot more stress because this machine that I live in is constantly being stressed. So it just mutates, it develops the ability to handle a lot of stress. Where most people that we see, the numbers are down under 100, if you will, and they're like not feeling very good. Mine are 800 to 1100, and I'm feeling great all the time. I really don't feel bad. Okay, so that you can't put that judgment on the numerical value, really, on the machinery. There's all this stand back in this big picture. There's a relativity that needs to be brought into this, because my scan versus someone else's scan, they're going, how are you even alive? But when you look at the relative way and understand how this meat suit works and the ability to mutate and adapt, this is the best adaptation machine ever. This thing these bodies that we live in right now have lived in every area of the world successfully. From the north to the south to all over, all the different temperature ranges, all the different foods, it just adapts. And so I'm working with a fellow now in Arizona that our plan is to start putting the numerical values into something that makes quantitative sense, because the data you can't quantify that's coming straight out of the machine from scan to scan, because an hour apart, and they're like, my gosh, there's hardly any of these that are the same, across like
Yes.
Coxsackie virus here, and then you might have Epstein-Barr
Yes.
over here that's more active, or you may have this moment, you may have, cortisol levels are really high, and over here, they're not showing up. So you have all this variation. And so I'm learning in the electrical devices the way they work. You can't look at these scans from 1 minute to the next and try to make any sense out of them like that. They work good from like month to month, a scan here or there, or every 2 weeks. But if you're going to try to just look at it allopathically,
Yes.
what I call it allopathically, it's not going to make sense. You can track the trends,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
Yeah, so I think your long-term is probably giving you a better sense as to what's going on. I
Yeah.
will say, kind of as an aside, that for the device that I was talking about, it doesn't really matter what it says because of the way the treatments work. They're They're not serious. For example, if I was going to evaluate you whether you needed open heart surgery, we have to be really perfect in terms of that diagnosis because it's serious. If you look at the allopathic consequences, we have to be very careful about what we diagnose.
Yeah, if you're having that mindset.
Yes, but
I'm over here with, I don't
if you-
even, that's over there.
when
in
you're
this
into
other world.
energetic medicine, it doesn't matter. So you treat the body for cancer. If there's no cancer, that doesn't mean you're not doing any harm. You're still enhancing the
Yeah,
body.
but
in some-
then again, we have cancer in our field.
Yes, yes.
You know, you go to a store or in a group like this, we all have cancer. We all have cancer multiple times in our life, physically, but it's also in the energy field. We tested a friend of ours' water, and in the water, it had oral tongue cancer. And she has a problem with her tooth anyhow. But somebody died that lived in that house 5 years earlier from oral cancer. And we were picking it up 5 years later in the water on the property of that house. And then we did air samples, and we were picking up in the same house, oral cancer in the air. So it's in the field. And this is where this kind of device and this energy medicine in general, it's manipulating the field. And we're just a responder to the field as well as a generator to the field. And so it's not, you can't use allopathic thinking. It's kind of that Einstein quote, you can't use that same kind of thinking over here in this energy world.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Anyway, I think this is the wave of the future. So I appreciate your time.
Oh, you're welcome. The future's here now. We have 10 minutes. All right. Okay. So you see where I never talked about these things. If you didn't come up to the mic, you wouldn't get to hear these things. So this is why participation is great. All right, we have another one.
Can your scan pick up past life traumas?
To some extent. And there again, it does, I don't know to what degree of past life, because to me that's, I don't know, in the woo-woo thing a little bit. I mean, I believe it and all that, but the machinery, it's more this right here. And I know it goes back to birth and a little bit like to mom or dad or some of that stuff, because it will pick up some of that, because genetically as well as information, we do come from our parents, and it does pick that field up. So it doesn't go like 8,000 years in the past, that kind of stuff. It doesn't do that I'm aware of. Alrighty. So a little special, okay? Because this device and technology works on the subtle energies, and subtle energy requires like constantly being there, like to create a new habit. Having an actual demonstration or to experience this on that level for a major problem like heart disease, kidney problems is a little challenging, but it does work very well emotionally, stress-wise. You familiar with Bach flower remedies, anybody? Yeah? Okay, homeopathy, old school. Well, the new school, if you will, which we have, we're able to not only get you your specific Bach flower and combinations, but also Australian flowers, California flowers, and a few other essences, and put them into a custom blend just for you. We normally charge $25. We got a show special, so you can bug me for a coupon and pick it up at our booth for $20. It's like $5 discount. So if you're interested, you can come by the booth or bug me afterwards or something. You bring this by, I'll give you one. You bring it by, and you get a discount here at the show. I've also written a book called The Underlying Cause of the Unconscious Conspiracy Against Our Health. I have that here too, if you're interested in that. I published it a few years ago. It's on Amazon as well. A little bit of our background, because we do have some specific rules that we follow dietarily to get this meat suit and keep this meat suit in functioning, life force, happy, vibrant, operating. and there's some rules dietarily wise, as well as information in there about some of our core beliefs. So you can pick that book up as well. Or it's on Amazon. Okay, we've got some other information, because this really pertains to the functioning of this meat suit. Again, how we have a natural chelation system built right into this thing, and most people don't even know that. And this ties into the scanning device, because the scan's able to pick some of this stuff up. Because we can tell, we actually had a lady that was all of a sudden craving a lot of potato chips. Believe it or not, 23 years old. And so she had this problem, and this chemical about this long of a name kept coming up on her scan. And I'm like, wow. So I finally looked it up, and I'm like, that's an ingredient in the potato chip oil, basically the fryer oil, which I call diesel fuel, because I've powered my Dodge truck for years with used oil out of deep fryer vats. It's a chemical name about this long, and it kept showing up on her scan, and it was actually responsible for her breast cancer. That's how specific this scan can be. And the chelation system in all of our bodies, most of them doesn't work. It doesn't work because it's congested. It doesn't work because your digestion system doesn't work. It's the opposite of your digestion. Digestion is stuff coming in, chelation is stuff going out, in a simple form. And so we have been knowing this for many years, and this is one of our, you can pick the brochure up and read more about it. Because when you can't eliminate properly, you can't live properly. It's like the sewer drain on your house. If it's blocked, what happens? You keep showering, you keep washing dishes, you keep eating, but the drain doesn't drain. What happens? It gets awful messy in the basement. And most people's basements are messy. 5 minutes, all right. Okay, so last call. Quickly, no? Okay. And so we're using the machines now to help us get to talk into the body, for instance, to see where you're clogged, if you will, or how to get these systems back online again. Okay, we have one last.
Yes. Have you treated children, and how was your overall history of treating them?
We don't treat anybody because
Okay.
that's a medical allopathic
Okay.
term, and then I get in trouble using that word, just so
Okay.
you know. But yes, we help people of all ages from birth, which we actually have had newborns, working with newborns, all the way up into, 100 plus. So
I was more interested in you helping children, and how was your experience in helping 0 to pre-adolescents?
children are the easiest to work with. First of all, they haven't developed a negative attitude or a negative emotional programming, so they don't have seriously, John.
Hey, that's a good thing. They don't have the battle damage.
Exactly, they don't have the battle damage. I love dealing with kids because, first of all, their bodies want to be healthy. Their bodies, and they don't have a mind that says, I can't, for the most part. There's a lot of kids now that are being born with, I can't, already. And we're seeing now, for instance, who's had the polio vaccine? The polio vaccine was contaminated in the 60s with HPV, human papillomavirus. We're seeing now polio as well as HPV into the 3rd and 4th generation. It passes. We're seeing kids today being born with some crazy stuff. And it's all because of their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents were poisoned with vaccines, with pesticides, with all kinds of stuff, and now it's being transferred on because their systems don't work right. Their chelation system doesn't work right. Their body doesn't function right, so we're seeing kids being born with all kinds of stuff. But yet, their bodies heal very well. I mean, we've had, type 1 diabetes go away. We've had all kinds of leukemias and cancers go away. You know, their digestive system comes back online. You know, have even helped some sight problems come back. You know, all kinds of crazy things. Kids are the easiest to work with. Adults, not so easy. Because there's this negative thing, like, you know, they haven't been, you know, the older we get, the more rigid we get. The more we are looking for trouble all the time. It's just natural, you know, because we've been hurt before and things happen. So we gain this wall around us to protect us. It's just a natural thing. And kids don't have that necessarily. So, hopefully. Yes, you're welcome. Thanks for coming. So we got like, what, 1 or 2 minutes? John's going to stand up.
Well.
What's that?
Yeah, you still got another minute or
Okay.
two.
Is there one more gentleman standing? We got one more time, John? Yep.
Sick 'em doggy.
There we go.
Fantastic, thank you. Have you done any research in your R&D about with the scanner and individual frequencies as they react to the human body? Like a tone generator frequencies, have you done any research between the correlation between individual frequencies?
We use tone generators in a couple of different kinds. We use them either through speakers, holding on to the probes. In the water is my favorite.
Vibrational, yes.
I like the water one the best, as well as the speakers. But the problem is, and I have this article, it was published actually in the Extraordinary magazine, was published. The name of it was The Ineffectiveness of Electrotherapies and Why. The problem is, as soon as you turn the switch off, you start to dissipate the energy because these meat suits don't hold the frequency, because we're malnutrition, because we're out of balance, you know, all the toxins, the infections, and we don't hold the corrective frequencies like we used to. I sold my big Rife machine because it just didn't work. I got tired of people coming back and I felt bad because like this should work. But then in research, we don't hold the frequencies, the corrective frequencies like we used to, because we don't have the mineral base and the amino acid base inside of our bodies to hold it. This is why energy medicine doesn't work in the big scope like it used to, because these bodies we live in can't hold the frequency.
Let me redirect the question. Have you done the research with the scanner and the frequencies on relation to the body and the data output?
To some extent. I just don't have the time to do a lot of the research right now.
Is that in any of that research in your publications, or is that just private?
No, it's all private right now.
Okay. Maybe I can talk to you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. All right, John, standing up and smiling.
Ladies and gentlemen, and I didn't use the word doctor. I didn't say doctor.
Yeah, don't say
and
that. That's
you know
the
what?
word.
People that help us heal and manage our lives proactively and prophylactically and preventatively, they don't need titles. You know what? The proof is in the pudding. What they actually do is good. Now, there's a cute little young blonde standing here. Did she have a question?
One more.
You know what? Request lines are open. One more victim.
Thank you, John.
one more. You know.
Step up to
hurry,
the-
step right
I
up.
like the young part. Okay. Can you create, a remedy for bad soil once you test it? And could you do the same thing for the house where the lady had the oral cancer that was in the house? Can you change that?
Correct. Yes, we can.
So do you take the drops and put it in a big thing of water and spray it around, or how does that work?
Yeah, you can atomize the air. You can take the liquid and atomize the air. You broadcast it. The machine broadcasts. So it's sending corrective frequencies to not just you, but your environment that you live in as well.
Very
Because if you take the frequencies in the supplement and it's broadcasting to you, you radiate out. So you become the corrective tool for your environment.
I see. Thank you.
Right. And there's one other cute little hot young
just keep going,
chickie
John.
poo here. She just wanted to say something too.
Okay. Oh, no
You
problem.
okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You're most kind. Thank you. I just wanted to point out a book that might help everybody in this changing time of electric medicine. Healing is Voltage. This guy's a doctor, and he got sick himself, and he found that the body is mainly electronic, not chemical as an entity. He has quotes in there from Bruce Lipton, finding that I've marked it, it's like the cell membrane is
Please
a
get that
liquid
book.
crystal. And if you pick up that book, it's well worth your money, I think. That's just a personal opinion, but maybe you can just go to a bookstore and look. Maybe you can just go to a bookstore and look through it, because there's a lot of good information in it. Thank you.
Okay. Will Spencer, let's have a round of applause. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. By the way, this cute little hot young chickie boo, she's got that book with her, so if you got a question.